appreciating everything that's going on as far as staying present. You know, all that stuff that I've been working on has really been coming to fruition. So I feel like a lot more calm, a lot more at ease because I'm just staying in the moment versus thinking about what needs to be done. You know, it is what it is. It's going to get done when it gets done. Put it on the timeline, write it down, make it happen. But I'm not worrying about things that haven't happened yet. So I feel really good about that, just being in that space right now mentally.
What stood out to you the most being in that space?
Just how good life is. Like seriously. Like just how good of a space that I'm in and how life is. I think sometimes when you're constantly thinking about what's next and reaching that next goal or, you know, I should be here, you're just losing track of where you are and where you came from. You know, so a lot of that, just a lot of appreciation and understanding of just being able to look back and say, all right, then I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like be where my feet are and just keep moving in that sense. And it makes everything else easier. You know, you just kind of you're not looking towards something else that makes the time pass by, if that makes sense. You know how they talk about living for the weekend? Yeah. You live for the weekend week after week, then you're going to miss Monday through Friday. You know, you won't have anything to really latch on to or remember those little experiences that make life is what it is. So it's been cool just being here, just being present. So I've been enjoying that part. So that's been cool for me, man.
That's good. Yeah, we don't have to, we shouldn't have to wait on the weekend to enjoy life, right? So enjoy life or work or play. It should happen. I think you're right. We're cheating ourselves if we have to wait until Friday. Of course, we love Fridays, but you know, why not make work fun or your day fun and then the evening fun? So
you got to find something to add in there. And I thought about you, Spike Lou, because I adopted some Spike Louisms, and I just started. I stopped with that caring stuff, man. I can't care. Like it is what it is. You just got to do what you do. So I've been finding that just being a lot more satisfying for me. You know, you can call it setting boundaries, whatever it is. So like Sunday, I made Sundays just my day of nothing. Sunday's reserved for whatever I want to do. Like I'm not somebody out of the blue. Hey, I'm free today. You want to hang out? None of that. If I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. And normally I was telling you, I would feel that responsibility. All right, I got to make time to do this, this, and this. I've been enjoying sitting down and doing nothing. But if I do feel like doing X, Y, and Z, I can get up and do it. So it was funny because people, you know, there was something I was supposed to do on Saturday that had to get moved. And they were like, let's do it Sunday. And I sat there and really thought about it for a second, like, damn, I said Sunday was going to be my day. And I almost gave in and said, yeah, we can go ahead and do it. I'm like, nah, I'm about to honor this. Like, I ain't doing nothing. And then it felt great. It felt great just being able to do what I wanted to do. Now, that's the only day of the week I got to do it. But knowing that I set that for myself, it's kind of one of those extra, benefits, I guess. So, yeah. Dave, what about you, brother? How you been?
Man, I am enjoying life to its fullest, Rich. Really. I have decided, just like you, you know, most of it is mental, where your headspace is and how you're feeling about life. But I think I'm intentional now more about enjoying my days, you know, not just, like you said, waiting for a particular day or waiting for something to enjoy. Living the dream that I always decided I wanted to live. I like to travel. I like to play golf. And that's what I do now. So it's pretty fun. Yes.
Before we introduce our special guest, I know it's First Friday. We'll get into it. And before we introduce our special guest, I got a question for you, Spike Lou.
Let's hear it.
I hit you up for this earlier today. This morning, I texted you, and I did what I pulled a Spike Lou on Spike Lou. So as y'all know, I told Spike Lou, you know, when I get an opportunity, I'm gonna start taking some clips of, you know, shows. I mainly watch On Deck the most. And I think I had slack for a couple episodes. I sent him one, a couple episodes didn't send anything. I sent him something for last week's episode that I thought was pretty funny. He acknowledged it and everything, right? So I was listening to On Deck this morning, and it dawned on me, like, hold up, I never saw Spike Lou post that clip that I went ahead and just found, clipped up for him, made it real easy. All you got to do is hit post. So I texted Spike Lou this morning, and I'm like, hey, man, what's good, black man? How you feeling? Hope you're having a great day. I'm about to listen to On Deck. Should I clip something up and send it to you, or you not gonna post it like you did the last one? I want to know how you took that when I said it, because I have a feeling we reached that point in our brotherhood to where I can send that. And I know exactly how you took it.
You know exactly how I took it. You had a guess at how I took it.
Yeah, I feel like I know
How you
exactly how you took it.
How you think I took it?
You did what you're doing right now, like this nigga, like you wanted to say something, but you didn't have anything to say. You just all you had to do was an LOL. It's like, all right, then go ahead and clip it up.
No, that was a method to my madness. And we always talk about holding each other accountable in the different ways that we do it as we becoming brothers. You told me that you was going to send those videos weekly. I purposely, you hadn't sent them in 3 weeks. So I purposely didn't post this in 2 weeks. Maybe it was 3 in my mind. It's 3 in my mind. So Dave, I purposely didn't post it. And when he texted me this morning, I was like, I'm glad he noticed, because he said what he said he was gonna do was send them to me every week. And I got that first one, and I was like, yeah, okay, he gonna send them. And then I ain't get no more for 2 weeks. So then when he sent this one, I was like, oh, okay.
I'm glad that happened. We both kind of did the same thing to each other, but I'm glad it's happened, because now it helped me better understand how you communicate. Because most people would just go ahead and say, hey, bro, I ain't getting no clips. What's good? He was like, nah, I'm just gonna let this ride out. You funny, Lou.
Because you said you was gonna do it. I did
say I was gonna do it.
Right.
You heard me say it in the preamble. Like I did say I missed a couple weeks, so you're absolutely right about that. But this is First Friday. Of course, this is the host, Rich, joined by the legend Spike Lou. We got the David Swett Jr., the First Friday resident, here with us again. But we're not alone. There's a fourth voice that you're going to hear today. Very excited to have this brother on. We have the good Don Hardin on with us, founder of the Don Hardin Group. If I understand it correctly, a lot of what you see in Nashville comes from the Don Hardin Group, your vision, your ideas that help shape a lot of these buildings, industry, architecture, things of that nature. Is that correct? Would that be safe to say?
Partly, brother, I can't take credit for my vision, but I think what we can take credit for is taking people's vision and turn them into reality. We've been fortunate to work on a lot of projects over these last 26 years.
Yeah, congratulations. 2001 it was founded, correct?
Yes, actually in 2000.
2000,
we signed the paper, but we really didn't enact it until like 2001. So one of the things that got me started was working on a church, Mount Zion Baptist Church. And after that, it kind of, because I moved back to Nashville. I'm a Nashvilleian, born and raised, and moved around for another company for several years. And then a friend of mine called me. We were living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he said, Don, you know, we're trying to build a church here. Would you be interested in coming back home? And I said, no, because we had, my wife and I had a pretty good situation out there where I was, had been promoted recently to be over like 25 other engineers on the site of Intel, where they make Pentium chips, a lot of computer chips. This is a pretty prominent situation, and we had just finished building our first house that we built, and so this opportunity to come home, I said no initially, but I flew home, and they said, well, why don't you fly home, and then we'll let you meet the people at the church, let you meet the architect. And I did that, and then something came spiritually when I've met people, and my wife stayed back in New Mexico, and I called her and said, we got to move home. And she was like, what? And then my boss is in Dallas. I called him and said, look, I got to leave the company. I'm moving back to Nashville. And so that's kind of how it happened. So we moved back, and you know, I promised my wife she can go back to New Mexico anytime she wanted to. It's a pretty chill place.
Yeah.
And we do go back there all the time. And I said, we will eventually build another house. So, you know, you got to, promises made, promises kept if you can. And so, you know, I had a great wife that's been there with me the whole time. And that's probably the big key. It's like somebody that grounds you, keeps you focused. And when the days are crazy, you come home, you got somebody to vent to and give you a different perspective. So, yeah, we've been around. And so you mentioned we've worked on a lot of projects in town, And now we're trying to pass the ball to the younger guys. So I got a good group of young people, men and women, learning the trade of project management, construction management, and they're working on these key projects. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing.
I love to hear that, because my fault, Spike Lou. I was just going to say, before we even dig in deeper, I wanted to get into some comments, and then we'll jump right back into the conversation if that's cool. I know a couple of people wrote in, and we'll pick up right there, because I have a ton of questions just based off that, and we just want to pick your brain while you're here, and we appreciate you once again.
Sure.
But we do appreciate everyone else out there for reaching out. Thank you for always leaving your thoughts, your comments. Golden Child, on our last episode, thank you for writing in. Golden Child wrote, I couldn't imagine telling any of my friends that I can't listen to their problems right now. I think that's part of being a good friend. I'm also not the friend that's going to call with my problems, because I don't want to be a bother to anyone, and definitely don't want the sympathy. That's just, it's funny. We talked about that a little bit, how we kind of just carry those things. But thank you, Golden Child, for that. Looks like we got a message from Portia. I agree. Trauma dumping on your friends without permission without permission is inconsiderate. However, a real friend already knows what's up through conversations. Granted, friends don't talk every day, but real friends talk enough. But then again, many folks in 2026 have no idea what a friend actually is. And then we got Public Enemy B. Haven't posted a question of the week in a while, but I watched a couple of episodes of this podcast called One Question with TK Coleman, and one came up. When you make a hard decision, what do you trust more, your reasoning or your instincts, and why? So, fellas, I want to pass the ball in your court. We'll roll into that question of the day. When you make a hard decision, what do you trust more, your reasoning or your instincts, and why? It's pretty interesting. Whoever wants to go first, feel free to take that question.
That's interesting.
I know my
think, yeah, I think a little bit of both, reasoning and instinct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, all of us, I think the host has the least gray hair, but we have, you've been around a long time. You kind of know, you kind of trust your instinct, because you've seen scenarios before, and you're like, oh, I've seen this before. And so, but you have to reason with the situation. Every situation is different. So I would say, I would go with, the instinct if I don't have enough information to reason, but certainly your instincts are also going to get you to ask questions about the situation. So, for me, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I agree with Don. I mean, your instincts lead you to questions, or lead you to spaces to investigate or to find out, and then your reasoning can take over when you get more information, more clues, more understanding of what you're entering or what you're about to decide to do. I mean, and I also use people I trust, like my wife. If I got to make a tough decision, I'm gonna talk to people who I really trust their opinion on the situation as well. So it's a little bit of both. Yeah.
If I had to choose one of the two, I'm probably going to say instinct, just because of what your brother said. And I just look at my life, and there's not any times that I regret my intuition. There's been times I regret not listening to my intuition, but I never regret following it. So usually my instincts are aligned with what's going on and where I need to be. And then, of course, we already talked about my logical side of my brain. Just sometimes I can analyze situations and things like that. So I think my instinct usually leads you in that right direction if I had to pick one of the two.
I wish I was more instinctual, I would say. So I'm going to go with reasoning. I lean on reasoning because I'm heavy into logic, heavy into why did something happen? How did something happen? What just happened? And the reasoning behind it. So it's going to be more so reasoning for me, with hopes to be more instinctual as I continue to grow.
Do you feel like there's any moments that you can think of at the top where you are naturally instinctual?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But I think that comes, the places that I am, it comes so naturally that you kind of just like, I don't know, I guess you're born with it, or whatever it may be, some instincts that I'm sure we've all experienced or had in our lifetime. So yeah, some instincts, and that may be why I'm downplaying the instinctual part of it. But yeah, reasoning is very heavy for me because I'm a thinker. I'm in my head a lot. So it's reasoning for me.
I can definitely get that. And Public Enemy B, thank you, man. Thank you for sending the question of the week. You know, we asked
Yep,
for
thank
those. You sent one in. We appreciate that. Spike Lou, I think you were going to ask Don a question, so I want to pass the ball to your court.
Yes. Being you're a general contractor, right, Don?
Yes, we're
How
a
did you?
general contractor and a project manager. I can explain a bit both, but what's your question? Maybe.
I just wanted to know how you got into the construction industry, especially being a black man from Nashville. It's not a space that's overly represented by people that look like you. So I really find it interesting, like how you got into it, the help maybe that you received, or just what you experienced along the road of being what you've created or being a part of what you created.
Yeah, good question, Spike. Actually, out of high school, I thought I grew up in Trinity Hill, the area called Trinity Hills, in the neighborhood in Nashville, and my mom wasn't the kind of person that's saying you guys are going to college. It was three of us. It was four boys, three brothers, but my math teacher kind of noticed he thought I had a kind of a talent in math. He thought I had, I wanted to be done with math and like, hey, I can take art now and take the fun stuff. But he literally hounded me to drop out of art and take more advanced math. I would go between classes and run into him, and like, man, he would convince me. And in some kind of way, I was influential enough to drop my art class that I love and take more math. That math class eventually went to TSU's architectural engineering program. So I studied architectural engineering thinking that I wanted to be an architect. But when I got my first job out of college, they did both engineering, architectural engineering, and construction. Matter of fact, they were the largest construction company in the nation at the time, rated by a publication called Engineering News Record. So they said, hey, okay, Don, we happy to start you. You graduate from TSU. You want to be an art, you want to study design, you want to be in design more or construction? Well, I've been on the design board a lot, so I wanted to start out in construction. And I got bit by the construction bug. I just loved it. My first job was in upstate New York. And after a couple of jobs in the construction sites, I went from upstate New York, Syracuse, Oswego area to Russellville, Kentucky, which is outside of Bowling Green. I did 2 construction projects then, and I went back into the home office in Greenville, South Carolina, and was doing design. Was learning more about design. I miss construction, so I got bit by the construction bug, and ever since I've been kind of leaning toward construction projects. And I think that go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to know, what do you think it is about construction that just spoke to you?
It's so in our architecture was pretty simple for me. The architects sit behind a desk all day. They draw, and it can be cool. It can be, you stay in one zone. You pretty much are at a big design table, or on a computer, and you're looking at that screen or that drawing table all day, pretty much, and you interact with people. But construction, the idea of being free to move around and you're seeing stuff, it's activity, it's action. It's different every day. You're pouring concrete one day. You're seeing electrical conduits going in the ground one day. You're erecting steel. You're solving problems too all day. So it's never a dull moment. And so you get to see the actual design is cool, but to see that design being constructed is really nothing like it. So I think there was a clear difference for me that I wanted to be out and going and not stuck behind the desk.
First, shout out to that teacher, because
Yeah.
we talk about this a lot as far as just people being able to recognize things in others and just pushing them towards that, and how influential that is. When people find their success, like, hey, I had that one or two or horde of people that were kind of rooting me on and leading me towards my talent. So I think that's always dope.
Yeah, and if I could shout out, his name was Alton Knight, by the way. I try to shout him out. A white male teacher, that didn't just teach, but he's you like the teachers that see a talent and encourage that. Now he could have just not really bothered with it, but the fact that he actually cared enough to kind of push me in that direction. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that about teachers. It's very important to have good teachers.
100%. 100%. So you get bit by that construction bug.
Hmm.
How long are you in that before your brain starts thinking, I need to build my own company?
You know, that was an accident, really. I was never one of those people that thought that had the ambition to be my own boss. You know, I literally one thing that I learned too about these big companies. My first job in upstate New York in Oswego, I was aligned with a guy. His name was Brian Howell, and he was my first boss, if you will. He graduated from the Citadel. He was somewhat a military guy, but strong civil engineer. And he would disagree with the engineer. So we had the engineering firm, not just a different firm, but the same firm. And I can remember them fussing each other all the time. He would hang up and say, "That stupid engineer. They don't know this. They don't know that." And it's always that way in construction, where the architect is blaming the contractor for not installing something they designed properly, or the contractor is always blaming the architect for stuff they miss on the drawings. Right? It's kind of a common thing. And I thought, instead of me, I had this idea that everybody's going to get along really well, and I'm going to be here for 30 years and get a gold watch. And then, I just had this idea. And so me being an entrepreneur was not really initially in the cards. It wasn't until moving back to Nashville, when after I finished building Mount Zion, managing that project, it's like, okay, what do I do now? And so that's when the idea hit me to say, hey, there's a niche for somebody to manage projects for a lot of people who didn't know how to really get their project off the ground, and who knows the construction on a large scale. So that's kind of how I accidentally, Brother Richardson, that's kind of how I actually got into into construction, or into being an entrepreneur. And that's when the scary part started. That's when the butterflies in your stomach is like, okay, what am I doing? Where's my next job coming from? And I see David can relate to that. It's like, man, I think I had butterflies for like 8 years because you're always worried about your next job, and
Talk to us about that, because I think we have an audience, and Spike Lou and myself, we can even put ourselves in this group of having a talent that can pay you, but also you still haven't taken that full step to where you're dependent on it, or kind of stepping out on faith, right? You still are like, I don't know if I'm necessarily ready for that portion of it yet, but it's there. What is that feeling like when you just jump off the porch and you're like, all right, here we are. I gotta figure it out. What were those early years like for you?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that networking is a big thing. I think that once you have a skill set and you're confident in that skill set, whatever that is, if you're a confident landscaper, or doctor, or a chef, or whatever, and you believe in what your abilities are, and you look around and you say, wait a minute, these people are doing this and they're making money. Why come I can't try it? And then networking and selling yourself. And nothing lights a fire under you than you have a child or children at home that need to be fed, and your wife telling you, okay, this is good that you're doing this, but you need to go and find some more work. She's looking at the bills, and shuffling the bills like, oh man. And you thinking everything's cool until she says, look at all these bills coming in and the money's not coming in. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's something that lights a fire under you, that makes you figure out how to figure it out. And also, nothing lights a fire in you more than the pressure, because now you start to feel more aggressive in talking about the clients that you're trying to win. When you're trying to win more clients, and you have something really it's really like, it feels like basketball player. He wants that championship really bad, and then he's going to work out a little harder, right? So if he's not hungry, he's happy to get a salary or whatever, and he's enjoying the fruits of being a ball player. Cool, he can sit back and relax. But if he wants the next level, he's going to be out there shooting ball late at night. He's going to be working on this jumper, free throw, whatever, crossover. And so the same with business. You have to pay attention to what's going on with your competition. How are they getting to work and you're not getting to work? And so you need to figure out what you need to do to get that same work or the opportunities. Not necessarily hate on anybody, but if there's, you have to have the mentality that there's plenty of stuff out here, plenty of work out here for everybody. So you just need to be, you use all the professionalism. I think professionalism was one of the things that I always thought was the deal maker, which sets you apart. How you write letters. When letters go out, emails go out, and you're writing a letter about something, even if you're you fussing at a subcontract, they didn't do something right. How you present that letter really yields the result you're going to get, and how you write that letter. If you're writing a letter for somebody for more work or to opportunity, that letter represents you. So that professionalism, how you dress, how you carry yourself, all those things set you apart. And I'll tell you that a lot of times when my first 2 years in Nashville trying to do business, it felt like the doors weren't going to open. But it's almost like a lot of people are seeing if you're serious. It's like, wow, it's 2 years. He's still out here trying to do it. That's when the opportunities start. That's when they say, okay, wow, he's for real. And I've seen that too, because I've seen people start, maybe they start, hey, Don, I'm going to do insurance now. Okay, cool. And you take that in. And just when you say, you know what, I need to call that guy because I need this kind of insurance. And you call him and say, oh, I don't do that anymore. And so a lot of people don't stick with it. So you have to stick with it. You have to have an idea of you're going to be at it for a long time, and that's what you're going to do. So I know I kind of rambled there, but it's
no.
a lot to it.
Incredible information.
I also want to say, just from an observation standpoint of me watching Don, he's maybe one of the best people. I mean, he's everywhere and nowhere. I mean, everywhere. Don is at every event, every activity, and he knows every single person in the room who he needs to know. He's one of the best people I know at just moving across a room and just making it happen across the room. I admire that about him. I watch that as a friend. I'm like, wow, I wish I had more of that quality. That Don.
I didn't know
Don,
I was doing that.
Yeah.
I was about to say, is that natural or intentional?
I think it's a bit both. I think it's natural in a lot of ways. If it wasn't always natural, certainly natural now. I mean, I generally enjoy knowing what people are doing. I generally enjoy knowing about their families because I want to see how their family life is like mine or not. How they go about their kids and just the things they like to do. And when you find out you like the same hobbies or music, it's just it's funny. We were at an event and this architect who works for Hastings, white cat, they look like your typical straight up and narrow family. And we went to an event with them and we started talking about music, and unbeknownst to us, they were like way into our stuff. I mean, they could talk to you about D'Angelo and musicians he had and it's just unassuming. So you never know that until you get to know people, right? So you can stand across the room and think that somebody's just L7, or you may also think somebody's Rasta. Just, but you talk to them, they may be as conservative or moderate as you are. So I think that I think networking, and I think that one thing that the company I work for, Fleur Daniel, out of college, they had this college graduate program, and this company actually they hired people from schools that had construction management programs. TSU was one of them. North Carolina A&T, Tuskegee. They had Auburn, University of Florida, all these different places. But I think during our year, they hired about 40 college graduates. And every summer for 3 years, we would go back to the main campus, no matter which project you're on. They would have us there for 3 days. we would we would learn a lot of different seminars. We would follow different groups that talk about finances or construction or design or whatnot. But they taught us about networking. They were really big on networking, and they would say even if it's a position, if you're a project manager in the field, and maybe later on you wanted to get into the marketing side of the company, or maybe you want to get in finance, you need to be able to pick up the phone and call David, like, hey, David, I know I'm interested in getting into marketing. I've done this. They taught us that networking is important. So I was drilled. That was drilled in me too. But also there's you have to have some natural ability just to talk to people. And I think that you guys have it on this. You guys have it as you host because you're comfortable talking to folks about a little bit anything, whatever happened during the week. So I think that everybody has it in us. We just have to become comfortable, whether you're comfortable in smaller groups or a big group. And then when you network, you find out that a lot of people don't want to be there. Their boss told them to be there at 5 o'clock and network, or they just want to get a beer and go home. But a lot of us are alike. You just never know until you talk to them. But also you get a chance to say, after you get to know them, hey, what do you do? And then you say, hey, well, we do XYZ. Maybe we can sit down and talk and have coffee. And it's simply that. So I've had more coffees and more beers and cigars now too, with potential clients. And of course, some people like to golf, but I think that opening up your mind and being comfortable, becoming comfortable and talking to people, and you can start that anytime. You don't have to wait until a certain age, or you're not too old to go and do it, in my opinion.
That's interesting because networking is a big thing. I think, Spike, I think even this podcast is from networking in a sense. Shout out to Mo. I think people in general look at networking differently from what it is. They try to make it something else that it isn't. I think they make it more grandiose and just people connecting and just seeing if you have any interest. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
What would you say to that? Because when people go to, all right, there are organizations that might throw a networking event. And for somebody like Spike Lou or myself, the idea of organized conversation just sounds like, like I got to go in there with a name tag on. My name's Kyron. I like the Bengals. Like, you know what I mean? It just feels like very entry level stuff. But we know it's bigger than that. It's really just trying to figure out, letting things happen. Who are you? What do you do? Oh, that's interesting. And like you said, you build on from there. What are some of the biggest opportunities you think people are missing out from by skipping networking or not taking that seriously or not asking an extra question to kind of really dig into the people that are around them and that could potentially partner up with them in the future?
Yeah, first of all, never lead with the Bengals. That's not going to work out.
That's right.
No, I'm kidding. And we love who we love, and you can, as long as you can defend the Bengals, you're good. You're golden. I think that people respect the fact that you defend, and believe it or not, that's a good icebreaker because you get a chance to show your passion, and and they're going to ask you, why do you like the Bengals, and you're gonna be able to demonstrate how committed you are, right? So people can pick up loyalty. They can pick up character,
man.
And they can
pick
you
up. Funny, man.
No, I'm serious.
I know you are, but you're still funny.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, I got a bad. Ask the guys around my office. They don't listen to me anymore. They know I'm BSing around half the time. So he's trying to be funny now. So, but no, I think that the other thing I really learned about is networking is excellent. Do it in a way that you're just there to meet people and have fun, right? If you go there kind of stiff-collared to try to force something, and the reason why I say that, I'm thinking of two situations where I networked. There was a guy named Edward Belbusti. He was an architect for Vanderbilt, and he was over all the construction management at the time. And I can remember networking at a Vanderbilt event, getting his card and saying, hey, I would check in with him to see if they had any work we could, pursue. And I called in Christmas time. It was Christmas time Chiron, and I would call people and say, "Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays." You know, you're in a good mood. And I called Edward just to say Happy Holidays, and he said, "Don, I want you to call me at the beginning of the year. I think we have some work for you, right?" And so it was like all this time I'd been kind of never, but I called him genuinely just to say Happy Holidays. And another situation, and we ended up being really good friends, and we did a lot of work for Vanderbilt. Matter of fact, that was one of the projects we worked on. So Vanderbilt, they bought the old Peabody campus, and they finally decided to do something with it. They turned it into the freshman commons. They built 4 dorms there, and they needed some. They awarded the contract, each of the dorms to different contractors, but they needed somebody to kind of coordinate that site, and they hired me to do that. So, and then another situation, a friend of mine, his name is Rob Horton. He was a Kappa, so we get along with everybody, right? He was over HCA's. He was he was over HCA's diversity program, Hospital Corporation of America. And I was sitting in his office one day. We were talking, and I knew about the guy who was over their construction. His name was Tom Gormley. And Tom just kind of busted into Rob's office, just kind of give him instruction. "Hey, Rob, did you follow up on that such and such?" And I said, "Hey, Mr. Gormley, my name is Don Hardin." Start talking. "We do this and that other." And I gave him my card. And he said, he looked at my card. He said, "Okay, we may get back with you." And you kind of do it like, okay, I did my part. If he doesn't call me back, it is what it is, right? He called me back within a couple of days saying, "Don, I'm going to have our attorney call you. His name is John Fell. He's over our ADA program. They need some help in that department." So with the so HCA acquired hospitals all over the country. They were older, and some of them didn't comply with ADA. You couldn't get through in a wheelchair, or they didn't comply with the hearing requirement. So they didn't have Braille you had sight issues. So they needed the hospitals all over the country to comply and be upgraded. So I helped them manage that program by hiring architects and contractors locally to kind of oversee them. And so that's similar to what we did.
That came from that business card.
Yeah, that came from that business card. And me opening my mouth too, saying, because when you see somebody, and I think people like the fact that you've done your homework on them, right? It's like, okay, he knows who I am, right? So I'm a young black guy at the time. I was young, David, back then. And so this young black dude knows who I am, right? So it's kind of one of those things. And
David
and
said,
so no, go ahead.
David said you were a natural. As you're telling that story, you sound like a natural. And you mentioned earlier in the conversation having butterflies for 8 years as you're doing this and figuring this out. But it seems like you've gotten to the place in your business where you understand to be successful, it ain't doing what you fell in love with. It ain't the architecture. It's not the construction part of it. It's what you just said. It's walking into the room, knowing the right people, shaking the right hands, calling somebody for the holidays, following up with them, not expecting an opportunity, but still being presented with one. How far were you into your business before you realized that? And now that you realized it, do you feel like it's a superpower that you have, like what David was saying? Because I'm listening to you explain this, and it's like, okay, well, he gets being the CEO of a company is not going to do the work every day.
Well, that's an excellent question. Nobody's made that observation before, Spike Lou. That's pretty.
I'm good at this.
Super.
I'm really.
Yeah. I can see that. I think we, if you got a different day job, you need to look at. Let's talk about it. I think you definitely have a talent in pulling it out. I mean, I think. I think I've always loved the X and O's. I've always loved the technical part of construction. Just the solving a problem. And matter of fact, as we've grown, I've had to be comfortable with doing less of that, right? And letting the younger people do it, because when guys first started, it's like, okay, they're here to learn to do it, but I'm trying to tell them how to do it, and I'm trying to tell them every step and do it how I would do it. And then he's like, okay, I can't grow. If I got to spend all my time doing that, I can't go and fish and get more work. I can't go and make the business better. I'm and they're looking at me being nice, saying, Don, would you please move on? We got this, right? And then they probably are happy when I go on vacation so I can stop being over their shoulders so much. But I've learned to let them do it, right? But I miss the work. And so whenever there's a problem to solve, I just jump right in, like, okay, what y'all got going on? And you're able to talk about it, teach about it, or whatever. But I think I do enjoy um, getting out of their way, but I do enjoy the networking and building the business and going and making sure people know who we are. We still feel like for a long time I used to say that we're just getting started. I mean, I think it was 10 years in, I'm still saying we're just getting started. And finally I had to tell myself I got to stop saying that now. We've been in business for a while now, so we're not just getting started. But then I had to start thinking about how do I pass the ball? And we talk more about that. Matter of fact, we're trying to put a plan in place to turn our company into more of an employee stock owned type company, and for a few people who've earned it. So I think it's and hopefully you say superpower. I never really defined a superpower for myself, but I think the beauty behind what we try to teach our guys. So we do both construction, general contracting as a contractor, and we do project management. So the difference in the two is project managers or owners rep hire the architects and the contractor and manage that process for them. And so we know what the architect should be doing and we know what the contractors should be doing because we've done that. And then being a general contractor, you are the contractor. You're not the architect or you're not the project manager. You're the one that's out hiring all the subcontractors to build that. Not many companies, large or small, do both of them. These big GCs, they don't concentrate on project management, they concentrate on being a GC. Other project managers, they typically don't have a GC license like we do, unlimited, and actually doing the work. So we pride ourselves in being able to do both because we benefit from both. We know what the architects and contractors should be doing as an owner's rep, and even as an owner's rep, no, pardon my language, but the contractor can't bullshit us on price because we do that too, right? So I think that we pride ourselves in doing both, and I like seeing the youngsters learn both. I think it's like whatever job comes in the door, if I assign it to somebody, they get to learn whatever that is. And the other thing that we've never tried to limit ourselves. We do, and I learned this from the other company. We do every kind of work, right? We've done automotive, we've done restaurants, we've done sports, we're doing Tennessee Titans, and we did the Vanderbilt Athletics. Um, Automotive. But now we're getting into semiconductor. We did semiconductor before I left New Mexico, but then we also did work with New Mexico as me owning the company, not just an employee. So we're not afraid. We always say that whatever they can draw on paper, we can build it. So if David said, "Hey, Don, I want to expand my restaurant," when we learn about it, what are you trying to do, Dave? We really learn his business. We learn the acronyms of whatever client we have, and we go get it built. And so we pride ourselves in not being afraid to take on any kind of project.
Well, Don,
Is that?
go ahead, Rich.
I just got a quick question because I was reading up and I think one of the things that stood out, and you can correct me if I'm wrong if this is unique or not, is that your group stands out or it highlights itself as the owner's representative. And it kind of reminds me of what you just mentioned as far as getting in the ins and outs and actually kind of being an extension or part of the company in itself to make sure that their best interests are represented beforehand. Um, is that where that kind of comes from as far as just that thought process of I want to make sure that we stand out, or is that something that's common? Did you look at that as
Well,
something that we can separate ourselves when we take this approach?
well, interestingly enough, when I mentioned I've been doing this as a business for we're going on 26 years now. Um, when I first started, it was the reason why I did owner's rep is because here I've been working as a youngster after college, I've been working on large projects. We worked on uh, the smallest project I probably worked on was $25 million, and that was back in the 1990s, right? So working on the Alcan, it was a $250 million expansion. Then I moved to Logan Aluminum in Kentucky. It was a $200+ million project then. Went to the home office. We did design for General Electric and Procter and Gamble in Cincinnati, in your hometown. Um, then I moved to Chicago. Did work for Nabisco. We expanded Nabisco's plant, right? And I'm a big Nutter Butter fan, so I had to try not to eat up all the profit. But we did fun projects like that. They were large projects. Left there, went to work on the first Mercedes-Benz plant in Vance, Alabama. We started out with 966 acres and built a million+ square foot plant they made those SUVs when Mercedes first came out with them. And so I had been working on large projects. So finishing the church was very spiritual, right? And it's God led me here, and He took over from there. But I had to figure out a niche, small company, but I wasn't going to be really. My talent was not going to be just used on doing a small daycare, right? It had to be. So being an owner's rep for larger projects, I knew what the architect should be doing. I knew what the contractor should be doing. So my natural niche for me at the time was to be an owner's rep. Too small to be a GC at the time, but my mentality and my exposure was too big to just work on some smaller project. So that's how. But then after we did a couple of owners reps projects, selling the idea to people that they needed an owner's rep or project manager was kind of tough, because they would say, "Well, we hired an architect and a contractor. Why do we need you?" They didn't think they needed me until things got screwed up, right? It's because the architect's drawing it out for his own interest for the most part. The contractor's trying to make as much money as he can. And when things go wrong, he's blaming architect. They needed somebody in there that had more of the owner's interest to make sure that everybody if the architect screwed up, let's hold him up to it. Let's get him corrected and move on and not delay the project. If the contractor screwed up, let's help him too. And then when it was time for the owner to pay, the owner's rep kind of made sure whatever was paid was legitimate. They were actually billing for work that they actually did and not cheating the owner. Or if they gave change orders that wasn't fair to the owner. That's kind of what a good owner's rep would do. So more and more we started to prove ourselves, and the world started to wake up to say, you know what, we do need more project managers. We do need more owner's reps. And so fortunately we kind of in Nashville, we kind of fell into it at the right time.
No, I love that. I love that. I got a question just in regard to earlier. You mentioned you had to learn to let go and let some of the younger people
Yes.
learn how to do this and kind of go on that path. With your legacy and what you built, and of course your reputation over all the years, how do you vet out good people for your company and good people that you can entrust with your name, with your group, as they move around Nashville and other places in the world? Like, hey, I know I got the right people for this job, because there's a lot at stake. What are the things that you look for? What are qualities that you pay attention to in people, to make sure that your baby, in a sense, is being protected by the right people when you're not there?
There's somebody asked a question about instinct, right? Instinct is part of it, and reasoning is another part of it, because and the other thing too is I've gotten our team involved. I'm happy to say that I'm not going to be the one that on our team that makes the decisions of who comes in through the doors. They have to pass the muster through a lot of other people too. But initially, um, instinct. I've been around a lot of different kinds of people. People will trick you. People will put whatever they put on a resume, and you find out later that they're going to make the resume look good, right? So you have to ask enough questions and fill in the blanks. Hey, what were you doing between these 3 years that you weren't it doesn't show what you were doing on your resume. You got to dig into that. I'll tell you one of the hardest decisions that I had to make, and I did make this decision. I had to fill a kind of a entry level position on a big project for a laborer, and it was actually for the Music City Center project. And I interviewed two guys, and I had to hire one of them. One of them was, both of them had a criminal record, right? Construction kind of hires people with criminal records. One of them was he murdered somebody, but it was turned out to be self-defense, and the other one physically abused a woman.
Mm.
And so, believe it or not, I ended up hiring the murderer. But he was honest about it, and it was a self-defense situation. So it was more or less self-defense, but it was one of those things where I need to give one of these guys an opportunity. And so you're faced with interesting situations, and that's what I did in that particular situation.
I want to, Spike, well, I don't know if you had anything, because I want to talk about Dave and Don. As we, like I said, continuing to talk about networking. Where's your origin? I know you met, was it at a conference? Where was it that you guys met? And I just want to hear more about, how you ended up connecting and where you are to this day. Like, how'd you end up getting to this point where Dave, how did you get to the point where you're like, man, y'all got to add Don on your podcast? You know what I mean? Like, how did it start from that first meeting to now?
Right. Well, we were both elected to Leadership Nashville in the same class. So we were in the same class. There's 40 people in the class?
Yes, about 40, 44 or something like that.
44 or something like that, right. And in any large group of people, so me and Don were neighbors and we didn't realize it. So every morning you do Leadership Nashville on Thursday, I get on the interstate and he's right there and we're going to the same place. And I'm like, so when we get there, I'm like, you live? Oh, he's like, yeah, I live up here. I got a condo right here on Old Hickory Boulevard. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
So we started carpooling. It was like, we're going to the same place. There's no point of us both driving, right? So we started carpooling. Then we're sitting in the car, we got more time to talk and become friends. And I've always loved any self-made person, right? Something about a person who pulls it out of the mud, figures it out, and gets it done just inspires me. I like to be around those kind of people. I just enjoy those type of people. And Don's definitely one of those people. And, interestingly enough, out of that same era, my wife and Don's wife are elected to Leadership Nashville this year in the same class.
Right.
So that just kind of,
Go figure.
12, 13 years later, however long that was, maybe 14 years at this point. So yeah. Don, he wanted one day, I think that one day, I told you I was going through a divorce and I'm in Leadership Nashville, and on the other side of my life, it's just a living hell, right? I'm fighting through it. Don's such a perceptive person that can tap in without overstepping his bounds or pushing the wrong way. And he has a gift. I tell him that. He really does. And so he's invited me to go out to have a drink after one of our things. And it's a Thursday, November 1, 2012. I'll never forget the day. We come out of a session. He's like, hey, let's go. He wanted me to try, what was that scotch? Lagenwood?
Yeah, I wanted him to meet this chef.
Yeah, meet a chef.
I knew that's what he was into.
Try this particular scotch, right? And I wasn't feeling it. Lagavulin, yeah. And I just remember that day, I was one of them days, I was like, man, I'm not feeling it. He asked me again. Never pushed it too hard, but asked me again. Finally, I was like, all right, cool, we'll go. Best decision of my life, right, ever. Walk in the door, and we're walking into this place, and two young ladies are leaving as we're entering. Heather and Kimberly. And Don knows them, and he's going, hey, I know those two girls. He calls them over and introduces me to both of them, and we kind of sat down. We have some drinks, talk. They took their coats off. But long story short, that's my wife, Kimberly, right? I never would have met her if I didn't decide to go with Don. And this is, going back to Don, how so many people, you put the right people in your life, you listen to, there's so many things that happen. The butterfly flap that creates a tsunami 1,000 miles away. I mean, if I'd have delayed, they were literally leaving. So I think about this all the time. If I'd have delayed 30 more seconds, another minute, we never would have saw him.
Mm-hmm.
Literally that close, right? And the chef we met that night was Matthew Iwanabe, a Nigerian chef who runs one of my companies now. So I met my wife and the chef that's going to be the future that runs one of the companies that I got in the same night, from networking, from a connection, from, you know.
I didn't know I was Cupid, but I guess I was Cupid.
Yeah, you knew you were Cupid. And then what the funny thing is, we get in the car to leave that night, and Don, the words I'll never forget, he said, "Be careful, you'll get you a wife." And I was like, "Man, I'm not getting another wife. You are out of your mind, right? There's no damn way. I'm just getting a divorce. I done gave away every piece of jewelry and gold and money and property I ever had, and even my dreams, they took that. They said, here you go, we're going to take them too." And to get out of this, and, you know, and I meet Kimberly, and she was perfect for me. I mean, like Don says about, you know, you need that partner sometimes that can listen and have a calm demeanor and put you in places that you probably wouldn't have been able to put yourself because of their way and how they are and how they can see the world and how they describe it to you. And so me and Don have remained friends. And, you know, things click off. There's me, Matt, and Chrissy, and 4 or 5 other people that kind of clicked off of the 40. Don probably's friend. He's probably in every clique, right? Knowing Don.
No, I'm not.
We probably think
maybe
he's
not
in our clique, but Don is probably, you know, he's probably the dude.
I'm more of a homebody than you think. I'm more of a homebody than you think. But let me jump in and talk about David Swett. You know, first when we met, we like, man, we should have known each other. We should know each other already because Nashville is so small, and who doesn't know the Swett family? Who doesn't admire the Swett family? And so, you know, I think I had met Patrick before, but his brother. But then when we finally met, we were like, man, how are we just now meeting each other? We said that a few times. How are we just now meeting each other? But David is so smart. You know, we would sit around and have conversations, and I've tried to dabble in other things. I tried to, I've been approached to, hey, can you invest in this, invest in that, and probably lost out more than I've won. But I'm always asking Dave, hey, when I was thinking about a cigar bar or if somebody else is talking about a restaurant, I'm asking Dave, and he has such wisdom. The stuff is right in front of you, but you miss it. But Dave points it out. It's like, that makes a lot of sense. So, and I don't think David realizes how much wisdom in certain things it just kind of comes out. You hear these funny stories. Have you heard the stories about when he was a kid and they had to be the fill in for the Jacksons? That's a funny story.
I don't know if I heard that feeling. I know I heard the story about being at the concerts and all that in the back.
Well, when they fed the Jacksons when they came to town, this is when Michael and the brothers were small, and the crowd was trying to chase them and so they had to put the Jacksons in one of those raggedy Swett's vans, if I can call it raggedy, Dave. The barbecue stained chitlin cornbread stained van. They had to put the Jacksons in there and sneak them out, and then put David and his brother in the limousine. All the girls chasing the car. So
what?
Yeah, who else gets that experience, right? It's like who said they had it? But anyway, but Dave is golden. And the other thing is when he says he's going to do something, he's a man of his word. He's proven that to me several times.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that. But I believe in that. I mean, I've learned that from my grandfather. I've learned it from my father. And being a man of your word is probably one of the most important things that you can do. I mean, because when you show up, when you say you're going to do something and you do it, that leaves an impression on the person much longer than you believe. And when you need them or you come back to them, I mean, my latest business, Onyx Foods, Don, I needed an investment, right? like I said, I was coming out of divorce. I done got all my cash taken from me. And I sat down with him. I asked him, I said, man, I need an investment. You know, Don has already invested in several things that done, like he just said. But I said, man, I know this. I got it. If you help me, you know, I'll get your money right back plus. And I did.
And he did that. And he did that. But he called me, you know, out of the blue. Say, man, what you doing? And you know, I didn't, because he was months earlier than what I thought. You know, I wasn't sweating it, but he was like, man, here you go. And it was with interest. And I'm like, who does that? Right. So you know, I don't know about y'all, but you give somebody $5, $10, and they ain't gonna pay you back. I got family members that probably can't talk to me now.
Right.
That if that's all it takes to keep you away from me, then
it's worth it.
Don't worry about it, right? So
yeah, they don't come back.
Yeah.
I read something.
Yeah.
I read something online that said, "My bad."
No, you go.
I read some online that said we the only people, black people, that be like, I ain't forgot about you, and think that's a form of payment. When you owe somebody some money, like, I ain't forgot about you. Think how often you hear it. You're like, yeah,
right.
I would hope you haven't forgot about me, because I ain't forgot about
you. You ain't paid me.
See if you can walk in the bank and cash that.
And
right?
here's the thing about money. That's about money, right? People, I don't think people, you can't get ahead owing everybody. Like at some point, you got to pay people off. Like you got to get what you owe paid, and that's got to be the most important thing to you. Not whether or not you're going out of town, not whether or not you're gonna go to this extra dinner, not like that's how I feel. Like when I owe, I'm like, nah, that's mine. I got to get that done. I'm not gonna. But once you're free, and I don't have a lot of debt, right? I tell people this: once you get free, you can do what you want. I mean, you can travel, you can go places, because I
no doubt
I don't carry a lot of debt. I mean, I carry some business debt that's necessary, but not any extra just weightful debt just to have debt. And I believe in that. I believe, you know, free money grows much faster than money under debt. And I appreciate anybody that helps me at any point in time in my life. And Don, you know, I couldn't have done what I did. I couldn't have got where I went. I mean, I needed that, and he did it, and he trusted me. And I'm just like, I can't. I don't. As soon as I get it, you know. And I had a couple of investors, and everybody got their money at the same time, plus interest. And I understand money. If you give me $10 today, next year that's worth $8. It's worth $7. It's not $10 no more, right? So you can't. If you borrow money from people and you keep it,
can't give it back the same.
It's not the same. You've given them less. If you give them the same, you haven't given them their money. In my opinion, you know, you didn't give them their money. Yes. So you know, I'm a big believer in that. And, you know, Don is also, you know, he's a man of his word as well. His wife Tracy is both of them, unbelievable people who I respect. And to me, respect is as important as anything. And one thing I can say is if anybody tell me anything, mention anything about construction, I got one name come out of my mouth. That's Don Hardin. I don't have no, you know, whether you call him or not, that's the person. If I was doing a big project big enough for Don, I don't do projects big enough for Don, but if I was doing a project big enough, that would be my dude all day without thought. And if anybody out there listening to this needs projects, this is the man. Trust me.
Well, you know, I also believe too, guys. Thank you, David, for saying that. But I also believe you got to put other people on. You know, I know good electricians, good concrete guys, and you know, when you call me, you need somebody. You know, if I can't do it myself, I'm going to personally call somebody and say, hey, this guy's going to call you. Take care of him. Give them a good price and that kind of thing. I think that goes a long way. But back to the money part, I think construction is one of those kind of fields that it costs a lot of money to get in. A lot of people see a lot of money flying. They hear these big numbers. I tell people you can lose your shirt in construction. If you're going to get into it just for the money, you can lose your shirt. So I think that you have to enjoy what you do. but you have to pay people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to you have to get enough credit to have lines of credit
Mm-hmm.
that, if you get a smaller sub that can't really carry the load, or manage their money for a certain period of time. Sometimes you have to dip into your own line of credit to pay that person until your client pays you, because a lot of people kind of get out of it because it's a hard cash flow type of field. And so it's not a check every week kind of thing. Shucks, we've had some of the bigger clients, bigger name clients can take the longest to pay. Some of the smaller
Mm-hmm.
clients and those low profile clients probably pay better than some of the bigger ones. So just because you have a high profile job doesn't mean that you're getting paid a lot of the money. Like the Titans, a $2.1 billion project. It's not like 1.8 billion is going to Don, right? So we have to work hard for our little margin that we get.
Mm-hmm.
But construction is rewarding, but just like most things, you have to be committed to it.
Right. It's the same thing in my industry. I mean, you're talking about you're working with it now on a good year in the restaurant industry. The restaurant industry, 8 to 10%,
Mm.
is, so if you sell $100,000 worth of product, you're working with an 8 to 10% margin that you may be able to profit from that time you pay everybody, do all the things that need to be done to run the
Right.
business. And that takes a level of discipline that, you got to make sure wherever you can cut the little things, the small, you got to pay attention that you're not just wasting money frivolously, because it'll catch you. It'll bite you in the back, in the butt, and then
Yeah.
when you need that money, it's not there. So I think people who run businesses have a level of discipline that is excellent, that makes them different than the rest of the world. Is why, and they trust themselves, right? I mean, you can hear Don at some point. He said, "I'm trusting me over everything else."
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Definitely. I'm saying that more every day.
Yeah.
I'm putting my trust in my people.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, you invest in a lot of other stuff and it doesn't work out. I got an email. We invested in something called Better Than Booze, and sorry, my friends who invested in that, but got a letter saying, "Hey, it's a nice run. We're closing our doors, and so we're not going to let you know you're not going to see any of your money from that deal."
Mm.
But I find that investing in ourselves and in employees, putting it into them, getting the training that they need. They want to take an extra class in
Mm-hmm.
QuickBooks or how to do estimating. To me, that's a better investment nowadays. For me, I'm learning. You can't be afraid to be aggressive and help people and invest in their dreams if you can
Mm-hmm.
afford to do it. But I think that you have to be a little bit. You have to ask more questions. You have to see if they're putting their skin in the game. And I know that to be true. It sounds cliche. I've heard that before. Business plans and all that. It's a way to be successful, but you have to really be dedicated to it and not worry about getting rich quick.
Right.
Don't fall for the get rich quick scheme. You get rich quick and you go broke quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Don, tell them. I mean, talk about this, because I think a lot of people don't understand this about business owners. I've gone through this myself. How many of your 26 years? How many years have you not got paid?
How many years have I not gotten
That you
paid?
couldn't pay yourself? Has there
I
been,
mean,
well, months? I mean, not
I've
for the whole year, but
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
always
yeah.
those spans
There
where
have
you're the
been
one that doesn't get any money. Everybody else got paid, and you're like,
100%. That
yes,
happens. That's happened plenty of times,
right,
or we get paid less.
yes,
Now I'm fortunate because my wife is is our CFO,
right,
and so I pulled her into the business, and she really didn't want to be in it at first, and then as we grew, she's learned QuickBooks. She's you know learned about money everywhere you can. And if anybody, we the guys ask her for checks, it's nervous because she asks for a whole lot of documentation. All right, so insurance certificates and W-9s, the basics, because when we get audited by the insurance companies, the companies that we paid that didn't have insurance, we have to pay for what their premium would have been. And so that ain't fun. Yeah, that's everybody. She's gone through numerous audits, every year. So it requires you to have your paperwork in order. It's a good thing. And so all of us, everybody in the office, if I'm working with a new vendor, before I hire them, show me your certificate of insurance and send us your W-9 before you can get to, because when it's time to pay you, we're gonna pay you when what we owe you, but except if the CFO doesn't have your credentials, then now she's mad at me, right? So
Right.
anyway, it keeps everybody honest. But to Dave's point, um, we believe in paying everybody before we get paid. Let's make sure you can sleep good. And the other thing I think is a high principle is never ever not answer your phone because you owe them money.
Mm.
Even though Spike Lee said, "I ain't forgot about you," it's not a good answer, but
So
at least you didn't dodge them, right? At least
yeah.
you didn't say, "Man, well, I've been trying to call you 5 times this week, and
Mm-hmm.
you owe me some money, and
Mm-hmm.
then I got to see you out in the club kicking it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That ain't
Mhm.
fun." So
Right.
never ever, always. I think that goes a long way when people hear that you really not just I ain't forgot about you, but you tell them when you think they'll be paid and you hold up to
Plan.
it. You know what I'm saying? I think that if that's probably helped us more than anything to be honest about and always answer the phone.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's calling, I tell my employees to my demise, I tell them never be afraid to ask about money. You know what they do? Don, is it time for me to get a raise? So they took me up on that, but I'm okay with it because I don't want them to be like I was when I came out of college. I got hired by a large construction company with probably with 40 along with 40 other people, and you find out why do they get paid more than me, right? You find out later why they pay the white guy coming out of Auburn more than me from TSU, right? So
Mhm.
I made a point to anybody that's working around me, never be afraid to ask about your money.
Right.
Let me
Gotcha.
ask you, Don, from where you sit in the construction industry, if you were talking to someone who was younger and trying to get into it, or even that was older and wanted to do a career change because they think that they like you, they want to be free. Yeah, they don't want to sit in a cubicle all day, and they may be 30 or 40, or even if they're younger. What advice would you give people on getting into the field in general? Regard,
I would help them sit down. I think they need to sit down and find a place to start, right?
okay,
Just find a niche in it. Maybe you do construction clean. Maybe you start there. Maybe you maybe you get up enough money and then you buy a couple of dumpsters. Maybe you hauling. Then and I'm almost thinking about a guy who's doing that. Then maybe you start doing demolition. Maybe you start demolishing houses. You get a piece of equipment. Maybe you're moving dirt. Maybe you're doing grading. A lot of people need ditches dug to put pipe in. You find maybe you start out as just doing carpentry. Learn how to do carpentry. Then you grow from there, and enough people start calling you. Next thing, because it's an organic type of business. You can grow just by, hey, I'm just gonna start out and do brick in people's mailboxes. Then it grows from that. Now they want that wall done. Now you're with a crew. Now you're learning more. I mean, it's a lot of places to start. But I think also it's getting yourself in a situation where you can get paid to until you grow, right? It's like, okay, that job, I got a job, this person wanted me to do their brick mailbox, did an excellent job of it. Their neighbor saw it, now they want to. Now if you came over in this neighborhood and you did 4 or 5 in a row and you charge them all some figure that particular week, you can do well. You can probably pay your bills for the month. I think it's simple stuff like that, to find a trade. Or maybe if you're not um, good with your hands, there are a lot of small businesses that I just mentioned that have no clue about the back of the house finances. sometimes when we're doing a project in Huntsville, Alabama right now, at Alabama A&M's campus, and I had the concrete guy. He's a Morehouse graduate. His family has been in concrete, and he was doing good concrete for us. And I said, his name is Marvin Battle. They call him. Uh, I forget his nickname he grew up with, but anyway, Marvin Battle. I said, Marvin, you have a bricklayer. He gave us a bricklayer. The bricklayer is great, but his back of the house, when we asked him for an invoice, he had no idea how to do an invoice. So one of my project administrators sent him a form, and she had to help him fill it out. So there could be somebody that just a young lady or young guy for that matter, that just does accounting for these small businesses that don't know how to do invoicing or make sure they get, the payments come in. And it's just a lot of things that can be done, but they have to be committed, find a niche, and don't worry about what somebody else is doing, how fast somebody else is growing. Let them do their thing. You have your own path and keep your nose down. I've seen people grow and fall apart at the same time. I've seen companies literally try to steal our business plan. My wife entered us into a business plan competition, and somebody was trying to steal it to use our business plan. So people will try to get what you have instead of focusing on what they can do. And we'll help anybody, but don't try to take it. Don't try to steal from us. Find your niche. Get help. If you find out somebody's not willing to help you, go to the next person. Somebody's willing to help you. We've seen so many trucking companies grow. So it's especially in Nashville right now. The work is out here if people want to get into it, but they have to be committed, and they can't think about it being an overnight, getting rich overnight. You will do well, but I think you can, if you stick with it, you will do well, but you won't get rich overnight, right? It's not that kind of thing.
What's the best opportunity you said no to?
Think that one's easy, and that's somebody. One of the partners I work with, large company, they wanted me to look at building a prison.
Got you.
Kind of have some,
that's pretty,
feel, and even just to say, just to make sure I wasn't crazy, I took it back to the guys at the office. They about threw me out my own office.
But that's good though. That means you got the right people around. It's you all aligned on the same thing.
Exactly. So anyway, that was probably the these big prisons you probably can make a lot of money on it. But
big industry.
I realize it's not my fault that my brothers and sisters are incarcerated. I just think I feel better not doing that.
I got a question for you. If you woke up tomorrow and your reputation disappeared and all you had was everything you learned on the job, everything that you built, that work ethic, that's all you carried with you, what would you do to start your next business? Like, how would you start from scratch?
That sounds like you must be in my head about retirement. Because people asking now, I'm 61, and my wife is like, I don't know about you. We both 61. I don't know about you, but I'm hanging it up after a certain time, and I'm like, I've really never thought about retiring. I don't know what that feels like, but I got a lot of other hobbies that I like to do. I probably would open up a record store or something, and then apply my networking and how to move and have fun with it. But yeah, so I would do something, but it would be something like that.
Do you collect vinyls already?
I do. Yeah, lots of it. Yeah.
Do you do anything? Are you like a DJ or anything like that?
No.
I just
collect a lot of vinyl. Interestingly enough, my father-in-law, when he would travel, he passed away in 2023, and he was 92 years old. But he traveled everywhere he traveled. He was on a couple of boards, and he would go to places and buy records like in like places like Great Escape and all these vintage stores. Back then, you could get records for $1.50, and they would, the conditions were all good. He did it so much he amassed about 10,000 records, right? So he at some point he gave me an old turntable, right? We had a turntable in the house growing up, but raising a child, you're doing all their stuff, you don't get a chance to have your own hobbies, right? So when my son was kind of about 16 or so, I got a turntable. I started buying new equipment, and I started collecting vinyl. When my father-in-law passed, when he was passing, he was well aware of who should have what, and we decided my son would have his record collection. So now my son every Monday at 5 o'clock on WXNA, from 5 to 7, he has a radio show playing mostly his grandfather's vinyl, but we share that love in music. So my son turned me on to Currency, but I turned him on to Nas. So we're fans of each other's music like that.
And interesting,
I like that.
Interesting fact too about Don's son and my son. They played. One of his cousins lived across the street from us, and they would play with each other. And he would be over my house, and I never met Don, So, but his son was telling me one day I'm over there. He's like, "Didn't you live on this street?" Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah." I used to go over there all the time, and I was like, "Man, this just how the world, how the universe works. Sometimes amazes me. I'm blown away by the universe and how it works sometimes, and how things you circle back around and hear something, and you're like, really? I'm like, wow, that was your son the whole time. I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Do you guys collect vinyl music? You play stuff on vinyl?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I'm
starting my collection now. I got about 30.
Cool.
About 30 vinyls.
What did you guys last buy?
The last vinyl that I bought. Hold on, let me go take a look. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
The last one I bought I found a Watch the Throne vinyl that I purchased. Jay-Z and Kanye. I found that on vinyl.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was hard to find for a while, and I guess they popped up. So I happened to find one from a reputable place. So I got that. I haven't played it yet, but I do have it. I've been finding myself trying to find some cassettes as well.
That's the one that has an Inn in Paris, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
With the gold cover.
Yeah. I remember that one. I don't have that one, but I remember.
And it's funny. Somebody was just mentioning this on Friday. I was at work and we were having a conversation. She's somebody who collects vinyls, and she was talking about how 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, you can go for 50 cents, $1, $2, get all these records. So she can't bring herself to pay $40, $45 for vinyls, because she's used to that world where they were, $1 here, $1 there. So it's funny how physical media is coming back. A lot of this generation, I forget what they're called, they're bringing back a lot of the things that we grew up with, as far as physical media, CDs, vinyls.
Is this the millennials?
No,
we're the millennials. Like me and Spike are millennials. I think this is Gen Z. I don't know. Is it Gen Z? Yeah, even wired headphones. So our generation, we had everything, and mostly the wireless headphones. Wired headphones are coming back. More Gen Z is reading books versus reading them on tablets. Listening to audiobooks.
CD sales and DVD sales are up. People want physical media. The last album that I got was I think Leon Thomas.
Oh yeah.
And then I just got one signed by a rapper named 2 Chainz. He came and did a meet and greet where he signed his stuff. But this is my favorite one. My favorite vinyl. It's RZA. He's a producer for Wu-Tang.
That's so surprising.
But it's not his music. I don't like Wu-Tang.
I was just about to say, I was about to say, you don't like RZA.
So he put out a vinyl of all the old school songs that he sampled while doing Wu-Tang's music.
Oh, that was cool. I'd love to hear that.
I like
it's
that.
Really
I'd love to hear that.
He got like William Bell, I Forgot to Be Your Lover, Isaac Hayes, Ike's Mood, Johnny Taylor's still away.
Mm.
It's a lot of good. The emotions, I like it. But yeah, it's really good. Poverty's Paradise. But yeah, I play that more than any other vinyl that I have.
Yeah.
I
So
like that.
one of the things I've done the past 3 years straight is go to Montreux, Switzerland. My wife and I dragged her there because when I would collect some vinyl, it would say live in Montreux, and these guys would go to Montreux, Switzerland, in a concert. It's a 2 week concert in July, and Leon Thomas was there last year.
Mm,
We got to see him up close.
nice.
And then another young lady, her name. So I'm a big James Blake fan. I'm not sure if you heard of him, but
Mm-hmm.
if you look him up, if you haven't heard of him, he's produced a lot of other people. Travis Scott, he's worked with Travis Scott and people like that. Beyonce. Um, but anyway, he was in concert last year, and a young lady that opened up for him. Her name is Sienna Sparrow. She's a London singer, young London singer, and so she was pretty good. You get exposed to different artists. She was there again in Montreux this year, but she put out an album, and the record, one of her records is called "This Is My House." If you look it up, it's pretty cool. But it opens up sampling this lady talking about this is my house, and it turns out I had to look up who is this woman saying that. It's Nikki Giovanni.
Mm.
Mm,
Right. So you familiar with Nikki Giovanni? She was a poet.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But when
Absolutely.
I
She's this
went to
grad.
look, but when I went to look up the record, guys, Nikki Giovanni has a full album with her reciting poetry over jazz music,
Hmm.
and it's called "The Way I Feel." And and I actually ordered it. So I get some music on Discogs. So when you find the title and you can't find it, you order it on Discogs. And it's you may pay $20 for a record. But it'll tell you what kind of condition it's in. So I'm
Hmm.
literally waiting on that record to show up now. But the fact that a young 20-year-old Londoner sampled Nikki Giovanni in her music is pretty amazing. So she sampled, so the music is almost exactly the same. And the producer, her producer picked up where the other producer left off, and the guy who produced it, his name is Arif Mardin. Arif Mardin was a producer who produced Aretha Franklin and a lot of other people like that. So the fun
Is
thing about records is you read the liner notes, and you see all these other the instrumentals, and who played what, and even D'Angelo. This morning I was reading about the Voodoo album and him recording at Electric Lady studio in New York, and learned about Jimi Hendrix as a studio he created. He recorded a couple of songs and he died 6 weeks later, never got to hear his record. So it's just so much about that you learn about through vinyl records. So
great.
I feel you on this. I feel you on the sampling. So that's kind of that's why I would say, you know what, I probably would do something with records if I
Mm.
had to start over.
I love that. Spike Lou, you about to say something? My bad.
I was, but it slipped my mind what I was about to say.
I got
Go
you.
ahead.
No, that was pretty much it. I don't really have anything. I mean, we could do another 2 hours.
Oh wow, we've
Um,
been on here
but I'm
for
trying
a
to.
little bit of
Yeah,
time.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, about 90 minutes or so. So I think we got everything covered as far as like a part one. Because there's still a ton of questions we can pick your brain. I know there's a wealth of knowledge there. Spike Lou, did you have anything else though before we got out of here? Or Dave, did you have anything else before we got out?
Man, I just want to, man, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Don, for coming and sharing your story. Man, I appreciate you more than you ever could know. Thank you for being a part of my life in the ways that you have. It's important. We're about this podcast, this show. We're trying to be more forward thinking and telling people, how important they are and what they mean to them. I think it's important for us to start to make sure we let people know that who are in our lives as well before it's too late. But I
Yeah, I
think it's
appreciate
another example of simple discipline, believing in yourself, understanding you have a talent, and taking a risk. I mean, it's always a risk. There's never, and that's the thing. So many people have heard you talking about Karen, Rich, about when is the right time? It's never. There is never the perfect right time. I mean, Don had a job, was about to build a house, and then had to stop and come to Nashville. Like, so, imagine that. Like, I got a great job, I'm comfortable, and I need to leave. And, it was the same thing with me when I left. I could have stayed under Sweats. I could have stayed with my dad. I could have been comfortable my entire life. But I had some visions that I wanted to see and see if they would work. And they do. So, I mean, I encourage anybody out there who believes in their talent and and has the integrity to show up, like Don says, the integrity, even when things don't go the way they hoped, to be present in front of the people that you're doing business with, because that's most important. Even when you screw all the way up and it's your fault, take accountability and get it fixed. And I think most people that you work with in this business understand that it's never going to go perfect, because if it went perfect, we'd all be in business. So
absolutely, you're right.
The people who work through the imperfections are the ones who usually figure it out and move forward. The people who work in silent, sometimes you just got to get it out of the mud. And you're quiet and you're keeping your head down and you're trying to make sure your business is doing what it needs to do, instead of out here in the streets and spending useless time and money that's not serving. So Don is one of those people who I'm always watching, and he's an inspiration to me, and I aspire to be the networker that he is.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I really would love to hear, just a little bit about how you two and you three, how did y'all come to want to share these stories?
That's a really good question.
Really good question. Yeah.
Really good question.
I've been doing podcasts with Don for about 15 years. I do maybe 6 or 7 different shows, from covering TV shows to movies to sports to talking about rap music, just covering TV shows, like I said. But this one is one that I wanted to do where Black men could just sit and talk amongst each other. We didn't have to talk about what was going on in the news. It didn't have to be political or hot topics. It can just be conversations that were had amongst people who were just trying to figure stuff out, who have gone through stuff or who are going somewhere. So everyone that comes on, we call them bookworms and authors of this book that we're writing. This is the 172nd episode.
Wow.
The first 100
Congratulations.
episodes. Thank you. The first 100 episodes were with a brother named Mo, who kind of started all of this. He reached out to me because I had been doing podcasting. He had an idea. We did that idea. I had an idea. This is that idea. And it spawned off from there to me and Rich now doing it, to David hearing it, and he and I, like he said, that's my brother from another mother. We've been knowing each other for over 20 years, but we've just gotten close as we have through this podcast and him listening to this, he and I having conversations, him and I talking to each other and just connecting. So that's how it all started. Just Rich and I met for the first time in Nashville this year after we've done 70 episodes, didn't even know each other. But again, the space was just really started so Black men could have a space, a safe space to talk, to think, to bounce ideas off of each other on a weekly basis and just grow mentally, spiritually, and whatever else, in whatever other way we see fit. So when Dave said you were coming on, Don, he said that you were that dude and you delivered. We appreciate your story. We appreciate the advice that you gave, and even to what we talked about and why this was built. I know a lot of people that listen to this don't know somebody like you is in construction, that look like you, that talk like you, that's from Trinity Hills in Nashville. They don't know that. Especially a lot of people that are my friends, where I'm from, and grew up in South Nashville and been there, like they didn't see a Hardin construction or an example of that. They ain't see an example of a Swett restaurant so much per se. So thankful for David for coming each week on First Friday, and also for introducing you, Don, so we continue to have these conversations and people can continue to hear what's out there and the possibilities.
Much love. Appreciate you.
Mhm.
Appreciate
Yes, sir.
and big congratulations to you guys for doing this and giving it a platform, because you're right. You know, if we can't get our stories out, and a lot of people won't think that things can be done that we're doing, you know. So thank you.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate both of y'all. Thank you as always. And hey, Don, we expect to have you back on again. Hopefully
All
this
right,
isn't your
cool.
last visit. Come
Cool.
back, talk with us anytime you like to. You're officially a co-author and a bookworm. Like Spike Lou just mentioned, and Dave, you already know what it is. Always a pleasure, my brother. Spike Lou, I'll be sending a clip to you.
I'm waiting, brother.
Hey,
All right, man.
All right. Thank
add
you
me
all
to
again.
these
Appreciate
clips, Rich, so I can promote it from my site too.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. I'm gonna make sure of it. So
And
we
I'll
appreciate
and I'll
y'all out
share.
there for listening.
You can
Thank you.
you can share it to Don's too. We all we'll get that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all for listening. As always, let's get better this week. We'll catch y'all soon. Peace.
Peace.
Jeez.
Peace.